nourishing the mind, body, and soul for the Asian diaspora. Have you eaten?
Hello, welcome back to Have You Eaten with Ji Bowlus and Hello HAPI, where we amplify the voices of our community one conversation at a time. And today I am so excited to have Gina with us. Gina Rosales is the founder of Make It Mariko Studio, and she is also the founder of the very first ever POC Food and Wine Festival that just happened this past May in Berkeley. Welcome, Gina.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I went to the festival and I have to say that it was incredible. I really loved everything that you did there and just what it was. It was giving representation and creating community and space. So thank you so much for that.
And thank you for being a sponsor. I think you represented one of our ideals of somebody who just saw what we're doing and felt aligned with our mission and our vision, and then reached out and was just like, I have an idea. I want to do this. Is that cool? And followed through and made it happen. So I really appreciate that kind of partnership and outreach because, it's hard out here trying to do new things and brave new spaces.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that is exactly kind of what I wanted to take our conversation into because it was something that you came up with. So how did you come up with this idea?
Yeah, so I've been an event planner for a long time. I think my background starts with, dance. So I was running a dance company, a hip hop dance company, and I would plan dance workshops and large scale dance productions, and then went into nonprofits, then started working at Google doing corporate events, then started my own agency. So I've had this broad experience of event planning over 15 plus years. And now at this point in time of Make It Mariko, we're in our 8th year of business. I've been feeling this itch to create more and to also trust my own ideas. Because, when you run an agency, people typically hire you, they pay you to plan their event and of course consult. But a lot of the time it's this kind of partnership where there's a lot of negotiation around what's going to happen. So I really just wanted, I have all these ideas and I've been unlocking this really another part of my brain where I'm really leaning into being a creative. And I just wanted to create something that was fully our own, fully our ideas, and just being able to do honestly whatever the hell we wanted. So I actually started taking wine classes. I got a scholarship to this wine foundation to take classes about wine. I've always loved wine, drinking it. And so going to school unlocked that student part of my brain where I got to learn again. And I, of course, was learning about how, not really diverse the wine space is, which we all knew already. And I kind of felt to myself okay, I think there could be a place for me here, a place for me to use my skills in event planning and curation and create a space that hadn't existed yet. And so that's how POC Food and Wine was born, out of just putting together my experience in so many different spaces and just wanting to see a place exist, a space exist that didn't exist before.
That's awesome. And what I noticed too about that space, I could totally see as you're talking about your background and your music and dance and all of that, how everything kind of played together. You had some amazing musicians there too.
Oh my gosh, yes. We're just so blessed in the Bay Area community, honestly, about the level and quality of talent that we have out here. It's just such a really interesting bubble of people in the Bay and the diversity of what we have and the skills. So yes, it was so beautiful. And I'm so blessed and grateful that so many of my friends accepted the call to come and be a part of the first festival.
Yeah. You know what I forgot to do in the beginning? I typically ask my guests how you identify.
Oh, okay. So I guess I identify as being a Japanese, Filipino American. I identify as being a Bay Area native. I am a lover and child of hip hop culture.
Awesome. Amazing. Tell us about the leading up to putting this together, because I followed you on Instagram and your stories and the trials, the triumphs, all of that. And whew, girl, you are one strong woman.
Oh. Yeah. Honestly, it was definitely a journey. So from coming up with the idea and actually producing it, it was over a year in the works of when I was like, I'm going to do it. Let's work on the branding. Let's make a logo. Let's make a website. Let's put the team together. And then a solid 6 to 8 months of then production planning with that team. So it was a long, long journey. And I think something about me too is like, I'm such a dreamer at this point in time, and I believe anything is possible. And when I go for it, I go for it. I used to say I was not a risk taker, but after this year, I will never say that again because I took some huge freaking risks this year. And I'm really proud of myself for that because I feel like I'm more of a conservative entrepreneur. But
Oh, interesting.
this year I did. I know it's crazy. I identify that way. I feel like I'm conservative in the way that I approach things. But this year, I think that all went out the window in producing this festival. And I was like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to jump. I'm going to fly. But it was crazy because at the same time I was doing the festival, I was also doing another leap in trying to get my first venue, which has always been one of the biggest goals of Make It Mariko is to run our own event space. And so I was doing two huge leaps at once. And I think the universe knew better for me. And they basically was like, stop it, cut it out. You're doing the most right now. And the venue commercial space actually ended up falling through. This is like my kind of third attempt at a venue in the past 5 years. And I think the universe was just like, you're doing the most right now. This ain't it. And, that deal fell through. But I'm actually really glad because it allowed me to really focus on the festival because it really did require my entire brain space. So that's what also made it difficult is I was trying to do so many big, hard things at once. And I reached this capacity where I was just kind of like, this is it. This is my max. I cannot do this. Like I'm trying so hard to dream big for everyone. I was holding a little bit too much. So then I started focusing on just the festival. But even that alone was such a I should say it was a mind fuck. Like I've been doing events for a long time. The production part of it isn't really the hard part. Like not saying it wasn't hard, it was, but we've done this before. We know how to do this. The hardest part of producing this festival was me being executive producer for the first time. And the kind of things you have to navigate in your brain of like trusting in the process, having faith in, ticket sales coming through and allowing things to take their course. But me as a Capricorn, I just wanted control, and there's absolutely nothing you can control about a process like this. So all of the hard work was here in my mind. That was the hardest thing for me.
I love how you bring up a few words like the universe and faith. And yeah, and I'm just curious, like during those really hard times, like how did you take care of yourself? Like when you were having those mind fucks, like what helped you? Like what did you do to take care of you?
Yeah, because a lot of the reason why the struggle is so hard, and I'll name this too, is as a daughter of immigrants, as an Asian American growing up here in the States, we grew up with a different mentality around things. Like our parents came here, hard workers, really keeping that steady job and taking care of us, right? So I have this different perception around money and scarcity and fear of losing money. And those were all the things that I had to unlearn actively in order to be successful at producing a festival of this scale. And so therapy is one thing. So I do have a therapist. I see her every 2 weeks. And that was time for me to just really vent and break down why are some of these things so scary? And why do I have this physical reaction in my body when I'm talking about money like this, or talking about these giant leaps that I'm taking? And why am I so afraid of failing that it's not allowing me to really stretch in the way that I need to be successful here? So unlearning those things and making choices of what are the thoughts in my head, the stories that I'm telling myself that are not serving me anymore. So therapy was super helpful. having my crew of like entrepreneur friends who are producing at the scale or bigger actually than me that I could call and just cry to, which happened very frequently over the 3 months leading up to the festival. So having that support system and honestly meditation. So working on my mindset was the biggest thing. And that looked like every day in the morning, holding even 5 minutes to just like, this is like my office space in my home. I light incense. I would sit on the ground and just like sit with myself for 5 minutes and kind of get my mindset straight, because those voices from your past or from your past lives or immigrant stories, they're so fucking loud.
Yes.
And in order to really rise above them, you have to learn how to first accept them, which is crazy. Like accept that they're part of your journey. And then you also have to learn how to set them aside.
Yeah. A lot of times when thoughts pop into my head, I sometimes have to actively say, thank you, but no thank you.
Yes. Like I hear you. I hear you. And thank you for looking out for me. I know you're looking out for me, but you are not necessary right now. And this is, you're not running the show right now, but thank you. I hear you. I see you.
Oh my gosh, you brought up scarcity mindset. Can we talk about that for a minute? Because
Absolutely.
it it is no joke. I mean, I also am a child of of immigrants. I'm actually 1.5 generation American, and the scarcity mindset is no joke. I mean, you talk about building something and this fear that pops in. How did you manage that? Like you talked about unlearning. Like when it came to the scarcity mindset, like how did you unlearn that?
The first thing that I had to do was recognize that that's what it was and name it. I had to like name in my head, oh, this is scarcity thinking right now. This is fear. This is fear that is in your mind right now. And fear is the thing that's leading, what's holding you back. So naming it out loud was the super first important part. And then really kind of recognizing this is this story that I've been telling myself, and then actively creating a new story and trying really hard to make that new story my mantra. And I think it's like not even about convincing yourself otherwise. It's really about actively creating a new story and living it. So instead of like, you're going to lose so much money. What if you don't sell enough tickets? You're going to lose so much money. Then my new story could have become, I believe in the space that I'm trying to create, and I believe in my vision. And if I have to invest money to start and seed this project, then that's my choice. And I'm going to stick by it because I believe in it. So even that mind shift was such a huge thing for me. And I even would catch myself when I was on or talking to people and they're asking me, how's it going? The way I would frame it to myself was like, yeah, I think I might lose a lot of money on this, but I'm really working on my mindset to change it and see it as an investment. And then that would like take me then over months. Then finally I would get to the point where like, well, why do you have to justify it like that? Why can't you just start with the last part of the sentence? And then you have to say that first. So then I'd get to the place to be like, it's going so great. And I really love the vision of what we're creating for our first year. I'm investing a lot in it because I believe in it. And I'm so excited about where it's going to go.
Oh, I love
And
that.
saying it to a point where I could believe it, because for some reason there was this voice that was saying, well, if you don't make money, you're a failure and your event is a failure. And so even as like the crazy part of the post festival stuff, the day of, like you said, was just this amazing vibe. It was magical. I think that's the only word that I could use to describe it. Like, and I literally felt like I was floating on a cloud all day of the energy and the people there. And then once I started, doing the reconciling of things and seeing the final numbers, then somehow that old story started creeping in and starting to say like, well, oh, well, like all that beauty that you created, but look at all of this. Look at this spreadsheet. You're a failure.
Mhm.
And then I was like mad at myself, like, why are you allowing this old story to define your perception of this beautiful thing that you created? And so even it's just like a constant practice and unlearning and changing my mindset around what things mean and how I allow them to, create meaning in my life. It's constant practice.
Yeah, yeah. And I love how beautifully it's said when you said, when you're changing the mindset, but you're changing the story.
Yeah.
Like, there is no reason why your story needs to be a certain way. Like you get to write your own story.
Exactly. And it's like we have power. And we have power over all the voices in our heads, actually, because there's
Mhm.
many voices, your parents, your grandparents, society, capitalism. And it's up to us really to decide which of those voices we want to believe and which ones we continue to allow to live rent free in our head and the ones that we verbalize. So I'm learning still to get better at, like you said, creating my own story and really believing it and giving myself permission to believe that story.
Yeah. So are we going to see another POC food and wine?
You know what's hilarious is I told people, if you asked me a week before the festival that question, I don't know what my answer would have been. But now that I'm on the other side of it, the answer is absolutely yes. So with all the constant work and reframing I'm doing, I really do believe that we created something magical and that we shifted something in the room that day, and everyone who was there, I think, felt it. And so there's no way that I could not do it again. And my learning is just, I I launched big. Like a lot of people are like, yeah, you could have totally launched with like a 1 day, couple hour event. But no, I had to do a 3 day multi-event, multi-venue. But because we launched so big, I learned so fast. So I learned so much from this one festival that probably would have taken some people 3 years to learn. So
Right.
now it's just about, all right, we learned so much. Now, how do we just do it better next year? And so I'm excited to do it better. And I'm excited to give myself the chance to take what I learned and grow from that. And I trust that we're very smart people as Asians too. Like we learn, we're like, all right, that didn't work. Let's not do that again.
Mhm.
Let's do it better this time. So giving ourselves the opportunity to do better and have a second chance. And then that doesn't work. Then I'll have a third chance, a fourth chance. We'll have unlimited chances as long as we don't give up on ourselves, right?
Yes, yes, yes. I am hearing so much empowered, like an empowered mindset. Like I'm not hearing scarcity mindset at all from you right now. And so I, from everything that you're saying, I can tell like all the work that you did to get here has like really shifted things. And that day, I wanted to go to the other 2 days, but I couldn't. But the day that I went, it was just so beautiful. And like you said, it was magical. And when I walked into the room and felt the energy and just everything that you had created, it was just so incredible. And my small group of folks that came with me, I mean, they loved it too, and same exact way. And in fact, they didn't want to leave. So
Yes. Like, do we have to go home
I was
now?
I was like, I think they're gonna kick us out soon, so we might want to leave now.
I love that. And it's like, here's the thing too about me now. We're like a month and a half out of the festival happening. And so that's a lot of time to process. And I've been doing a lot of work in that still too, of like that mindset shifting. And here I'm talking, speaking out loud, the lessons that I've learned and the new story I want to tell myself, but I'm also doing it like behind my face right now. I feel very emotional. Like I'm saying it in a very strong, passionate way because I've been working on, really this new story. But I really do feel like there's like just barely tears because I'm also still reflecting on how hard like those 4 months, 3 or 4 months leading up to the festival were. And literally every month, like I would feel like I was going to quit. And I seriously considered canceling the festival. Like every month there would be a moment where I was like, just kind of like a little puddle on the floor. Like, are you really doing this? Like, can we do this? And so it was so hard. And that's why I'm just so proud that we all did it and the whole community came through and we all made it happen as a team. Like my team was working so hard to make this first one happen. But then I remember like, that's life though. And that's the beauty of life is doing big things that scare us. And if you're about to be in tears and your stomach is in a knot, then you're probably doing something really big and important.
Yeah. Hello Happy just launched May.
Yeah, congrats.
Yeah. So it's been 6 weeks. And shortly before you launched POC Food and Wine. And as you're talking, and for those of you who are watching YouTube may see me tearing up a little bit, but the other day I just burst into tears because a lot of what you're saying right now with the scarcity mindset and the stories, like all of that, it resonates so much. And I told somebody the other day, like, yeah, I just cried. And the woman said, see, that means you're doing something purposeful because you cried from joy. And I said, no, it was fear.
It's hard to differentiate sometimes. They kind of feel the same sometimes, but
yeah. And so I'm getting emotional just listening to you talk about this because, Hello Happy is my POC Food and Wine Festival,
yes.
and it's just, I can totally feel it and just radiating from your heart when you talk about it. So I'm also curious, like, when you do fall into those moments of doubt again, like, is there a mantra? Is there something that you say other than the thank you very much, but no thank you? Is there any other things that you say to yourself?
So the what's my new story is a big one for me. So if I hear thoughts and I recognize that they're scarcity or fear thoughts, then I will just kind of like repeat and repeat out loud even what's your new story? What's your new story? What's your new story? And then I'll let myself kind of respond of what do I want to create? What do I want to manifest as this new story? Like, is this story feeding me or is this just fear? So that's just something. And then like journaling, like I'll write it down, like I'll write down what I'm feeling in the moment, the fear, and then try to have another column of the new story column of how I can translate this to fear, because there's always a way. There's always a way. Like we're failing this. We haven't sold enough tickets, that could easily be translated to we're learning, we're growing, and this is our first year, So giving ourselves grace like that is huge because I don't know, as like Asian people, as like women, we're the hardest critics on ourselves. And if you really just think about, like I compare it all the time, like I'll tell myself, what would a white man do? That's something I also do. I ask myself, that's like not a mantra, but a question. I'll challenge myself. What would a white man do? And the reality is like a lot of like white men, like start companies, they fail. Maybe they'll even go bankrupt.
Yeah.
But then after that, they'll shrug it off, take the learning and move forward.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like that kind of, what did they say? Like goldfish have the shortest memory span. So in those places, like if you watch Ted Lasso, he's like, be a goldfish. When you have a failure, be that goldfish and then like move on, learn from it. And then what are you going to do next? Because the worst thing we can do is just dwell in shame. And I've been there and I just like sit in this shame spiral and that helps nobody.
True. Okay. So I want to bring this up.
Yeah. Wait.
So we can talk about it so let's set the stage. I think I reached out to you and then I got a response that I didn't like. And what was beautiful about what happened after that was I was able to show up and just I was who I was at the time. I was, going through a lot where the mind was saying a lot, the scarcity mindset, and then also I was experiencing other people's scarcity mindset. And so by the time I met you, I had been hit with so much of that you were the one who got the the brunt of the stick from me. And what was really beautiful about our coming together was that I could show up and say, "Whew, that was not great of me," and tell you and be vulnerable and tell you why it was the way it was, and the scarcity mindset experiences that I've had. And you were so generous and so lovely. And I just wanted to share that with everyone because we all,
Yeah.
right? We all have our experiences.
Let's say what happened, because basically you just kind of cold emailed me and it's like, hey, here's who I am, and sent me a one pager.
Yeah.
But then even where I was at the time of receiving that was deep in sponsorships, where I was like emailing tens of people like every day, also getting a bunch of no's, also no responses, and was just trying to juggle everything. So then when I got your email, I glanced at the one pager, I looked at the website and the Instagram, and there wasn't anything there yet. And I kind of was like, oh, well, can you just like tell me more? Because like I didn't really have time to pursue because I was trying to get like cash sponsorships, right?
Yep.
And then even like then you responded back, and then I was like, oh no, I made her mad. And then I felt bad, and then I was like, okay, let me read more. Let me read more. So then I went back and reread your one pager, like more in depth, and started looking up some of the names. And I was like, oh, okay, I get it. We actually do know some of the similar communities. Okay, like let me respond again. And then we're able to kind of start over. But I
Yeah.
appreciated your humanness of being like, yo, I have mad experience here. I know what the fuck I'm doing. And I just really just want to, do something with you. And I was like, all right, cool. Let's do it. Let's figure it out. So even you coming real with me and then me being able to give a second chance too, I think it's a beautiful thing because like, yeah, we both know how hard it is out here to get seen, for people to give you a chance. You're the new kids on the block, even though you're not. Like, I've been doing this work for so long. So have you. And then even what's frustrating is, say we launch something huge and big and successful, and you like, oh, I got that Forbes feature. I got this. We had 10,000 people come to this event. Then when it comes to doing this, it feels like you're starting over again every time.
100%. 100%. I mean, I've spent 25 freaking years doing this shit for other people, right? And then and then finally taking ownership and finally taking back my agency and doing it. It's like, it's a whole new world. And so one of the things I've committed to, and I have definitely made it a mission, is I want to bring people up with me. And so one of the things that I'm doing right now with Hello Happy is we're collaborating with this small startup streetwear brand. Like, I've worked with the Nikes of the world when I've worked for these big companies. And now there's, two Asian American women who started a streetwear brand out of New York and in LA. And we're going to be doing this collaboration together because, you know what, we're both baby brands, but it's stuff like that we have to do to support each other, and that's where I see the beauty in community and building together. And so that's why I appreciate so much the generosity of your second chance, even though I was a B.
It wasn't that bad.
I was like, I can't believe this. Like, I'm following her. I'm like watching her cry on Instagram and I want to help so bad. And then And then I was a total B. I will admit that, audience. I was a B.
Aw.
But
Well, it's about giving us, it's also about giving ourselves grace, and it's about giving each other grace, because
yes,
we all know how hard it is out here. And of course, like, you can't say yes to everybody, but then also we can give people chances.
yeah,
That's not necessarily like, who knows, like where things are going to go and what relationship will lead to what. And I think it's more about the drive, and it's about the genuineness of that person being down with your cause and being down to help. Because some people say that they're down to help, and there are a lot of this talk, and
yeah,
they're like, yeah, down for you, blah, blah, blah. Like, I've seen this. And then when it comes to
me too.
the event, and even I'll say for POC Food and Wine, a couple weeks leading up to it, I know who my real friends are, because those people were coming hard for me and supporting me when I was literally going through my entire contact list. And basically at the end, like, I felt like I was begging people to come and show up because I was so afraid that the room was going to be empty. And I was like, damn, I felt so bad for myself at one point where I was like, I can't even get people to come for free. What
Mm,
am I even doing? Why are you even doing this? Of course, it's just people are just lazy right now, and they don't think about what they're doing until 1 to 2 weeks before the event, which is mind blowing to me. So, of course, everyone came through, but you find out real quick who your real friends are. And it's important to um, just accept that truth and also move forward, because not
yes.
everyone is going to be for you.
Right. And then also so nurture it. Like when you find those people who are your people, just nurturing that, right? That's so important too. And that's what I'm learning from this whole experience with Hello Happy is like nurturing those relationships and
Yes.
people who are there for you. Because I think it's so easy for people to also forget and be like, oh yeah, I did this thing. I'm a big shot now and I don't really need anybody. And it's like, no, I remember every single person right now that had my back, starting
Yes.
Happy, and who continue to have my back. And I mean, those people know who exactly they are. And yeah, it's about nurturing. It's about relationships. It's about community, and it's about grace, giving yourself
Yes.
full grace. So I love that
Yes.
so much.
Yes.
So what's on the horizon for you? Like,
Yeah. So now, so Mick and Mariko's in our 8th year of business. And I kind of, it's been still rough. Like after the post pandemic, I feel like everyone in hospitality and events is like still, that industry is still catching up. And even this year slowed down a little with all the madness that's happening in the world and elections coming up, so much uncertainty, right? So people
mhm.
aren't really like spending a lot. So I'm actually in kind of like a restarting over phase where we are looking at our business model, and basically everything is up for grabs at this point. And we're like, all right, what has been serving us? What has not been serving us? And what kind of company do we want to be moving forward? And how are we going to scale?
Mm,
Because for me, 8 years in, I'm kind of like, all right, that was cool. You did a lot of dope shit, but this is not serving you financially. This is not sustainable. And I want to be long term. I'm in for the marathon. I don't want to burn out. So I'm looking at my business model. I'm changing everything up. We are relaunching a new wedding arm of our company. We're like rebranding literally this week, going to launch a new brand, and we're going to go hard and scale the wedding arm of our business. Because what we learned in the pandemic is love never stops.
yeah.
So that's like kind of a safe place for us to really grow the company and scale. So we're going to continue producing like non-traditional weddings that feature POC and LGBT vendors. So really getting, diversifying the wedding industry. And then we still have some big projects in the works. Like we're still on the search for a venue, but we're really waiting until we find the right deal. We've got some big bets potentially happening in San Francisco that the city is really excited about activating downtown again. So we're hoping that something will come through and we'll have an opportunity to build something amazing downtown in the Soma Pilipinas district that we've been building for 8 years.
Oh, awesome.
So I'm excited about putting roots into space and building out more spaces And I'm also exploring, we're in the kind of phases of creating a nonprofit right now. So,
Tell us more.
yeah, through the festival, through all the work that we've been doing, creating diverse spaces, so much of the work that we've been doing has been charitable. So now we're just going to formalize it and have a space where we can really, get donations and get, raise money to create more diverse spaces. So of course, Make It Mariko will still be involved in the production and planning, but we really want to be active in like, how can we just like get more fundraising together to sustain spaces like this existing in the long term?
Mm. That's awesome. That is beautiful. And then you mentioned you had done a huge Filipino Heritage Month activation, right?
Yes. Yeah. So our flagship baby event as a new agency was called Undiscovered SF, or it is, it's still active. And it's started as a Filipino night market. We've kind of shifted into a daytime recently, and it's during Filipino American History Month in October. So that's like our big event. Every year, there'll be anywhere between 1 to 5 events a year, depending on how much funding there is available. So this year, we'll be doing one big one in October. So that's going to be coming up October 19th, Undiscovered SF.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. Well, I just enjoyed meeting you and just getting to know you. You're just a force and just a beautiful, lovely person. And
Oh, thank you, Ji.
I just am just so grateful that the universe had brought us together the way that it did, and everything that happened through the process of us meeting, because it really just gave a lens of who you are as a person, and I appreciate you so much.
Oh, thank you. I know I'm so grateful for the connections. And I will say that was one of the main reasons that we wanted to create this festival in the first place, because I've been building with the Filipino community for like 7 strong years through Undiscovered and through Soma Pilipinas. And I love that. And it's been so
Mhm.
beautiful. But I really wanted to create these multicultural connections because so much of our stories as people of color in this country is aligned. And I think we will see our power when we stop creating walls between us and really come together and share our learning, share our knowledge, share our resources openly and abundantly. And that's when we will all come up together, when we can really unite.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, and
Yeah,
can't
thank
wait for
you.
your event in October.
Yes.
And yeah, and so until next time, this is G with Have You Eaten? And until we meet again, I hope your stomach and heart stay full.
Hello, happy fam. Thank you so much for joining us today. Make sure to subscribe, like, and hit the notification bell. And until next time, I hope your bellies and your hearts stay full.